Today we're saying Jiminey Cricket's Corner.
When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong. When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong. When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong.
Bitch, how motherfucker dare you come on? When you get in trouble and you don't know right from wrong, give a little whistle. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Jiminey Cricket's Corner, Taking My Own Advice. A show where I can give you guys some advice and some suggestions, all the while telling you some of my life experiences and efforts or hopes to guide you guys along the way while I'm going through some of life's struggles as well. First and foremost, I do want to say thank you guys for watching and supporting. I really was kind of hesitant to bring this show back, only simply because I didn't know what the reception was going to be, and it seems to be getting some pretty good reception. So I'm glad you guys are definitely liking me just being candid and talking and just sharing of my life and efforts to kind of, help you guys as well. Well, we've talked about a couple things so far. We've talked about friendship. We've talked about dating. What else? We've talked about a couple of things, but I thought today it would be pretty interesting to go ahead and talk about growth. A lot of you guys are somewhat aware of my story and how much I've grown from the person who I was to who I kind of am now. And sometimes, those stories play a purpose in kind of helping to, build the person that's sitting literally on this couch in front of you. So I thought it would be really interesting to just go ahead and share with you guys some tips, some suggestions, and just some advice that I've learned going along the way. So again, for those of you guys who do not know, I am totally blind, and so my blindness was due to diabetic retinopathy. And without going into all of the long drawn-out story, because of lack of management of the diabetes, it ended up taking my vision, and this is what I am left dealing with, along with some other health issues as well. But I thought it was important to tell you guys that I think a lot of times, I know when I go out personally, a lot of times I'll tell people that story and they go, oh, wow, and it's like this general feeling of, sorrow or feeling bad for me or just whatever I've done. But you guys, I'm telling you, to start out this whole growth topic, the Dominic that you are listening to now would not exist unless I've been through those things. Do I hate that I had to go through it? Yeah. But I think in the overall scheme of things, I had to go through it to be able to grow into the person who I am today. The people who know me best will tell you, like I said, now this Dominic that you're talking to on this couch did not exist 10 years ago. Did not. And so in ways, I'm actually kind of glad for the process. I have a story to tell. I have, experience that hopefully will go to help other people. And I think that's what really motivates me to put out a lot of the content and stuff that I put out. And so, I don't look at it, again, I guess me being repetitive, I don't look at it as being down, or I don't get down on myself. Again, I think maybe this was something that was put in place for me to transition into the next role of my life. And, without it, who would have said that I'd even be here? So I felt like that was a good segue into growth. I think a lot of times there are, me personally, I believe that when you go through life, there are different lessons and levels that you have to accomplish. So you will never, well, I'm assuming that there are going to be certain levels that you process when you go through your childhood, which is why we learn different things as we go through grade school and even outside of grade school. And that you're supposed to take those lessons to be able to grow ultimately into a person that you ultimately want to be when, God calls you home. The good thing about growth is that as long as you're on this earth, you should still be constantly growing. So keep in mind, people who are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, they're still growing. They're still learning. Me personally, I feel like one of the saddest things to see, and again, some people may not have a choice, but in my opinion, one of the saddest things to see is somebody who has gotten up in their years, but still has not learned or is still stuck on one of the lessons that they should have learned previously. So for instance, to see somebody in their 60s or 70s still dealing with a life lesson that they maybe should have learned in their teen years or their 20s. I know we as people, a lot of times, and I know I discussed this previously in another video, we as people sometimes tend to like to stay where we're comfortable. And of course, one of the beauties about not progressing is that when you are in a position of comfortability, I hope I said that right, you know what's to come next. You know what to expect, what's around the corner. Essentially, you've already mastered that life lesson. So when it comes to all the things that you've done all the way up to that point, then you're good. You know how to, progress into life, and, how to go along and handle everything that needs to be handled up to that point. And progressing to a whole new level where things are different and you may be traveling in an uncharted area for yourself, sometimes it can be kind of scary. There's a lot of things that we look at and feel like it's impossible, or that it's not meant for us, or that it'll never happen for us. So I think a lot of times, and like I spoke in a previous video where I talked about learning how to cross the street, my first piece of advice is just recognizing that sometimes, you guys, that first step is always seems like the biggest one, or the one that's going to be the hardest to accomplish. But I'm telling you, I guess now for a second time, that a lot of times that first step is not that big. And once you accomplish it, you literally look back and go, wow, this is easy. I mean, think back to your childhood, learning to tie your shoes for the first time, or, getting past that test in the 5th grade, or taking the SAT for the first time. I'm sure when you first approached those mile markers or those milestones in your life, it seemed like it was impossible. You were never going to accomplish it or get it. But look at it now. Now they're distant memories, and hey, you've accomplished it, and now you're better for it. So always keep that in mind, that leveling up is not anything to be scared of. Even though it may be uncharted area, all you have to do is go on, and then, hey, you make it through. If it's meant for you, obviously. Secondly, and I'm dealing with this as we literally are speaking now because of a situation that has recently, risen up. Try to make sure you try to make sure you stay your course, you guys. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be thrown at you to try to knock you off your path, to try to distract you, or to make you feel like maybe what you're trying to get accomplished is not worth it, or that it's not working. And again, these are all things, when you think about it, that ultimately are here to keep you from progressing. Me personally, I think the reason why this is a hard concept for me to grasp is because regardless of my interaction with individuals, I may not care for them, or they may be my best friend or family, I still always have a genuine care for people as a whole. So a lot of times it's hard for me to even gather or fathom the fact that everyone else doesn't have that same care or, sincerity behind them when it comes to interactions with others. And that sometimes there's a lot of other, emotions, feelings, or spirits, if you will, that motivate their actions, or why they do what they do, or why they say what they say. But you have to remember to stay on course with what you have to get accomplished. Again, letting somebody or something, or even a certain time, hinder that, a lot of times can stop your own progression. I remember going to church not too long ago, and I love my pastor for it. Shout out to Chattahoochee Valley Church of Christ in Columbus, Georgia. The pastor, Brad Giles, actually spoke about something that he put a nice little spin on it. I never realized it this way. A lot of times you have to be careful with nostalgia. Nostalgia is great, and you get to reminisce on how good the times were, and you seem to have all these great memories and ideas and just thoughts about the way that things were in the past. But a lot of times nostalgia can get us caught up, only simply because when you're remembering all those great times, you're not remembering a lot of the bad times that came along with it. So a lot of times we'll want to revert back to those times, especially like, for instance, with the quarantine going on now. I know a lot of these streaming services have decided to bring back a lot of those old videos and series and stuff like that we used to watch in the 90s. And the crazy thing about it is it's all great and well and good, but a lot of times when you get stuck in nostalgia, you don't want to progress on to the new part of your life. It might have been great back then, but trust and believe, even stuff from the 90s, when we were going through the 90s wasn't all that great. I mean, maybe looking back past tense, it's probably better than a situation that you're dealing with now. But hey, the 90s had its problems too. The 2000s had its problems, and the 2010s had its problems. But we got through it. So I think that definitely is number 2, is just to definitely make sure that you are staying your course and that you don't allow other things to distract you, because it can get kind of hard at times. And if you're like me or anything like me, a lot of times we get so wrapped up in the side swipes or the things that come from out of nowhere, it seems like, and then makes us decide that, it's just worth it all. I constantly have to remind myself why I do what I do and why it's so important to me. And even if it just affects one person, to be able to say, hey, this is why you're doing it. Let that be what motivates you, not what everybody else or whatever else is going on around you, how it affects you. Last but not least, I spoke to my father this morning, and he brought up a good analogy. So shout out Calvin Parker, if you're watching. Your life is supposed to, and I love the way that he put it. For those of you guys who are gardeners, that you sow a seed, and then essentially when that seed, sprouts and becomes fruitful, you now have a harvest. One of the ways that he put it was that in our life, we do this, we sow seeds, be it a seed of, family, or be it a seed for your career or your love life or whatever. And then when that seed grows and it becomes fruitful, you have one harvest. The only sad thing is that a lot of us, sometimes because of our life expectancy or how long we live, sometimes it's only expected that we're only going to have one harvest. And I think the sad thing about it, though, is that keep in mind, when you're growing, and even now, and I'll be the first to say, in my 20s or even now, a lot of times I'm not thinking about what's going to happen in my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, or my 70s. I'm just living for now. But again, if you don't prepare for a lot of these things that happen, when you grow, you may not be able to have that harvest. You may not necessarily be able to look back and see what legacy you've left, or what the people's lives were that you touched, or be able to, enjoy the fruit that you bared from being able to sow those seeds. And I think that was a pretty interesting concept for him to put it that way, because I think we all want to be able to, at least at some point in our life, be able to look back and say, wow, look at what I've done. And to be able to sit on your proverbial front porch and be happy of what you've done with your life, or the people that you've affected, and the mark that you've left on this world. And so, again, like I always say, you guys, these are also lessons that I struggle with. I will say shout out to the crew, my friends, if you guys are watching as well. We actually just started a couple of lessons. We all will get together, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the Bible Plan by You version. We'll all get on there and we'll look at different lesson plans, and have like a little bit of a Bible study throughout the week, and at the end of the Bible study, or whatever the lesson plan is, we'll come together and we'll talk about it. And I think it's beautiful because as a whole, and even though our group is not 20, 40, 100, or even 1,000 deep, I think the beauty behind it is that we've all gotten to a point to where we're trying to push each other to grow. And that's something that you rarely find in people. I think we all want to see each other excel and do something with our lives, so that we can come forward and be able to not only bear fruit, but also share that fruit with one another. So I'm gonna close this out. I feel like I'm rambling, like always. And I don't like to ramble and stuff like that. I don't want to waste you guys' time. But again, just wanted to go ahead and get that off my chest and talk to you guys, and hopefully, You guys learned a little bit of something. But you guys take care, and I'll be talking to you guys later. Bye. Hey guys, this is Dominic, and I want to thank you guys for tuning in to some more of my content. But if you haven't done so already, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my Facebook page, Blind Justice. See you guys on the next go round.